So, a new Godzilla movie came out a few months ago. I'm sure everyone is wondering what my thoughts are on it. Don't know why you need to hear opinions from little old me, considering everyone and their dagnab grandma has already praised it to high heaven. I don't know what to add other than give my own personal feelings. So for starters, I was inspired to make this video because while a majority of the reviews for this movie were fair, passionate, and Godzilla fans were giving their thoughts, there's a certain underbelly of reviewers wanting to use this film as a pawn in their little culture war. Hollywood should take notes. Hollywood. Why Godzilla Minus One proves Hollywood is stupid and awful. Godzilla Minus One. Celebrating men. For crying out loud, if the movie is that good, should it be able to stand on its own without you having to compare it to something you don't like? Heck, I just stopped watching Possum Reviews' video halfway through because the second half is just him complaining about Hollywood movies. Okay, I get it. There's plenty to criticize Hollywood about. Yes, I acknowledge movie making has become a content mill recently. Yes, I know Hollywood budgets are severely overblown, and there's no logical reason why movies should cost that much. Roger Corman will be having an aneurysm. And you know what? Yes! I finally understand where Martin Scorsese was coming from. But are we just gonna pretend Hollywood makes nothing but garbage? What about the Puss in Boots movie? Spider-Verse? Dang nabbed, the internet lost their collective craps over those. And those are Hollywood productions. I'm getting sidetracked. This is supposed to be a Godzilla video. Anyway, the main reason people are bringing up Hollywood when discussing Minus One is the fact that it had a budget of $15 million. Oh, why can't Hollywood make movies this good with lower budgets? A big reason is a lot of blockbusters now use green screen effects, which you would think normally would save time and money. But they need to hire hundreds upon thousands of special effects artists to make everything you see in the film. Granted, a lot of them are paid like dirt, so I assume the budgets would be higher if they had fair wages. I'm only assuming because I have a feeling big name stars they get in those movies wouldn't be asking for that much money, would they? But hey, the Japanese film industry is notorious for having poor working conditions. Actors and writers don't even have unions, and film crew can be overworked and underpaid. So yeah, I think we can assume that's why the budget is so low. Making people work harder for less money is not the message we should be sending here. If I'm wrong and the movie was made for that little and people were treated fairly, fine, cool. I'm more than okay with that. But for a budget that low and a movie with that many special effects and scale and set pieces, I have my doubts. Another complaint I hear from people is how quick they are to toss aside any Godzilla movie that isn't the original, Shin Godzilla, and now this movie. It makes me wonder if the people who say things like that are really Godzilla fans, cause how can you call yourself one in only like 3 out of 38 movies in the whole franchise? Having preferences is one thing, but come the heck on. There's just this snobbish film mentality people seem to have that Godzilla can only be taken seriously and he has to be a villainous force of destruction. And apparently the MonsterVerse movies are bad because they portray Godzilla as a good guy. Have you people seen any Godzilla movies besides the ones where he's a solo monster? There have been plenty of other Godzilla movies where he is still portrayed as a threat. Another monster just gets in the way and he fights it off. You could argue that the only time Godzilla was portrayed as a hero would be from Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster to Terror of Mechagodzilla. That makes up about 11 films in the franchise total. Everything else, he is the big final boss who is here to wreck everyone's crap. So, as you can imagine, I don't agree Godzilla has to stick to one characterization. I see him as a wrestler who just happens to be a giant lizard. He could be a face or a heel, and he has the talent to pull off both. Hell, I probably wouldn't even be a Godzilla fan if he wasn't promoted as a hero for a time. I used to imagine him as my own big protector as a kid. Had to build up my confidence somehow. But, what do I know? I'm just some fanboy of Japanese kaiju movies. Would one of the creators, like Eiji Tsuburaya, be quick to contradict me on my opinions? Actually, he was one of the biggest supporters of turning Godzilla into a hero. I'm sure even if you guys aren't Godzilla fans, you're familiar with this clip. Well, the story goes during the production of this scene, the director Ishiro Honda wanted to have it clipped out of the movie, but AJ jumped in and said, "No, keep it in, the kids will like it." Not only that, Haruo Nakajima, an actor who portrayed Godzilla from 1954 to 1972, told a story how Tsuburaya was telling his special effects men not to have bleeding effects because he didn't want to make kids upset. So even from his roots, Godzilla had a lighthearted campy nature in mind. Yes, it's true. Producer Tomoyuki Tanaka famously said it was a mistake turning Godzilla into a good guy. But creators regretting decisions they made is not uncommon, and shouldn't be used as the basis for why you can't change up characters sometimes. Another point I hear people make in regards to the MonsterVerse movies is their focus mostly on spectacle rather than story. While I totally understand wanting a movie to have more substance, this is Godzilla we're talking about, people. Godzilla as a franchise has been characterized as tokusatsu, which roughly translates to special effects technology. A lot of the appeal of a Godzilla movie is the fact you're watching a Godzilla movie. You want to see Godzilla smash up some buildings and beat up some monsters. It's pretty weird hearing people complain about how MonsterVerse movies are campy and lighthearted, when that kind of nature has been part of Godzilla since the beginning. It's true, the original Godzilla was made at a time as a cautionary tale of humanity continuing to use nuclear weapons. It soon developed from there to become even more, and before you assume I'm just fanboy-splaining here, allow us to venture back to hear from Eiji Tsuburaya, from Mangas Raguni's biography of Tsuburaya, Master of Monsters. Here's a little excerpt from the book, when you're discussing the behind-the-scenes production of the movie, Frankenstein vs. Baragon. Some critics have wondered why Tsuburaya employed a puppet of a horse for a scene where Baragon raids a small ranch. Koichi Takano said that when Tsuburaya was asked why he didn't use a composite of a real horse, or use a rear screen process to create something more realistic, he had replied, "Because using a model horse was more fun." Tsuburaya had an approach to these films knowing what his audience wanted, and what they wanted from these movies was entertainment. The original Godzilla was a landmark of film, not just of monster movies, and Godzilla Minus One reflects on that. But at the end of the day, these are monster movies. These films are pure fantasy. Fire-breathing lizards, mystical flying giant butterflies, three-headed space dragons. These are movies made for the young, as well as the young at heart. Godzilla can always be used to tell serious stories with serious characters. But I think to take away the more lighthearted and fun aspect of the franchise would be taking away a big part of the heart and soul of these kinds of movies that human hands went into creating. In those old movies, every building was handmade. Every explosion was mathematically placed. Every costume was sewn together. Every actor nearly sweated to death carrying those suits under hot studio lights. Godzilla films really are an amalgamation of all the techniques and tricks behind movie magic. As for my thoughts on Minus One, I freaking loved it! It was the first Godzilla film since the original that addressed themes and storytelling that resonated with me. I loved seeing Godzilla grow as the movie progressed. I loved the use of Akira Ifukube's music. I loved how we got to see Godzilla be a force of destruction in new ways we hadn't seen before. Jaws, eat your heart out. While I go into every Godzilla movie wanting some monster action, having a human story with so much emotion and character development was an added bonus. It played to the themes of the original, but rather than being a warning to humanity, it was more of an optimistic message that we can band together, no matter how tough times may be, to stop our world from falling into destruction. It really shows the power of the human spirit. That is to say I don't have nitpicks for it. I really would love to see Toho do modern takes on other kaiju, or even have new monsters created for a new Godzilla movie. These solo Godzilla movies are cool and all, but I don't want to keep seeing the same humans versus Godzilla stories over and over. It's fine once in a while, but I worry I'll get bored of it if it keeps up. But I'm not going to hold that against the movie. I've just been watching these movies for 25 years now. I'm bound to have my preferences. So I'm not being completely original in saying Godzilla Minus One is a fantastic movie. That is a loving tribute to Godzilla as a force of destruction. But all I ask is people who praise this movie try to see things from a point of view that Godzilla as a franchise is free to not stick to one type of storytelling. He's become an iconic character in the same vein as Batman. You can have your dark, brooding, no-nonsense detective stories, filled with film noir and gothic horror elements, or you can have some of the more lighthearted, goofy fare. Either way, it's all the same Godzilla. As a fan, I'm glad to see Godzilla get more mainstream attention. To think as a kid, people made fun of me for liking Godzilla movies, but now everybody thinks he's cool. All I ask is people don't let the greatness of one Godzilla movie overshadow the legacy of such a movie icon. As long as Big G is in a movie, I'm gonna go see it. Whether he's crushing Japanese people who are already down on their luck, or he's celebrating a victorious battle with an excited dance, Godzilla is always gonna stick with me. I can't wait to see him and Kong team up again. Am I just falling for the same typical Hollywood slop? Maybe. But at least I'm having fun. At the end of the day, ain't that what watching movies is all about? It's pretty weird hearing people complain. Hey, do you mind not scratching the couch while I'm recording a video? Thank you. Oh, don't talk back to me.